I was going to do a 2.5 gallon kit, I would take 2 cups. I would mark 1A, I would mark 1B. If I open up my kit, what I would do at that point is I would take, to make the smallest 2.5 gallon kit, I would take 4 quarts of A, and I would pour it into an empty mixing bucket. So it would be basically 1 would be the part A, 2 part A, 3 part A, 4 part A, and then I would take my B and I'd fill up 1B. That gives you your 4 to 1. That's 5 quarts total. Then I'd add 5 quarts of water, which equals 2.5 gallons of product. Going back to this illustration, 2.5 gallons of product makes a small batch. Full strength, you need 7.5 ounces. 75%, you need 5.625 ounces. At 50%, 3.75 ounces, and so on and so forth. Now, I already pre-made some product over here, but again, this chart allows you to make smaller batches. So when you're doing your coloring, you're not taking 10 gallons of product and coloring it all at once, all right? First one I'm going to mix up is 25% tan. Tan is right there again. That's the saddle tan on the color chart. I already put the color in part A. Now I'm going to activate it with part B. What I did in this little small batch, I had 16 ounces of A, 4 ounces of B, which made 20 ounces. Then I got a cup right here that has 20 ounces of water. This is going to make a super small batch of 40 ounces. I'm only going to be doing a 6 by 6 square, as you can see over here. So I didn't need any more than 40 ounces total to do that. All right. Always mix the product 2 to 3 minutes. The part B is way heavier than the part A. So it's like putting sugar in a cold cup of coffee or cool cup of coffee. You must stir that in to get that sugar in thoroughly. So Steve, again, is over here making sure it's mixed in thoroughly. And we're going to put it in this little pump sprayer. This dilution, again, is at 25% color strength, not full strength. A lot of guys out there in the field are doing brand new pavers and adding 10% to brand new pavers to do 2 things. One, take away some of the imperfections from the installation of the new pavers, because you always got those few pavers that have some issues during the install. So it's masking and hiding that, and it's giving it a deeper, richer color when they apply the Ure-Seal to begin with. So we got a lot of guys right now just using the color even on brand new installs. Keep in mind, new installs should be a minimum of 30 days because the pH, and it's not the pH of the paver, it's the pH of the setting material around the cantilever, the risers, the perimeter of the driveway, the mortar they set it in. All right? So this one's at 25%. Next one I'm going to mix up at 50%. Again, pre-measured. 16 ounces of A with the color. You also notice today, too, guys, we're using mid-gloss. If Ernie scans down below here, you'll see you have 3 flavors of gloss. You got natural, regular gloss, and mid-gloss. The mid-gloss is going to give us a little bit of shine, will not be flat. But I guess the point is, guys, is you can use any one of these color packs on top of the bucket in any one of these glosses. So you're not limited to just one choice. You've got 3 choices of glosses that you can add your color to. A lot of times we get guys in the field, they'll put down the gloss, and then the homeowner says, you know what, it's too much gloss to them. Well, what they'll do is they'll go back in the final coat, and they'll put the mid gloss or the natural over top of the gloss, which will knock that gloss down. So you've got a lot of options here when you're applying the product because you have the variety of sheens to begin with. Part B. You live? Part B again. More technical difficulties. So we got a 25% ready to go. This is 50% strength. Yeah. Maybe the last one is 75%. Now, I'm not going to put pressure on these here tank sprayers because A and B does not create heat, it expands. So 2 things to remember when you're using a pump sprayer. You can use one of these sprayers that we got over here that's battery operated that you can do large areas, or a small area like today. I'm just using this little one right here. A and B doesn't really create heat, it expands. So when you have them in these pump sprayers, make sure when you're done to take the pressure off and clean your pump sprayer out. If you throw this in the back of your truck or van and leave the product in there, in a couple hours you're going to hear a loud boom. And that loud boom is that pump sprayer blowing up on you because A and B expand. So it's got to, when it expands inside of one of these sprayers, it's got to go somewhere. So I would always suggest take all the product out, clean it. And some of these sprayers I've got over here during training, we've used for a year. Some of these are new. But if you keep them clean and immediately wash them out, you don't need anything other than soap and water. Baking soda is another option. And then we have another product called Total Wash. If you let it sit too long, you've got the option to use that chemical to help clean up your equipment. Now this is at 75%. We're done with these 3 tans. I'll mix up, wash these out, and granite gray and some. Now, one beautiful thing about these Ure-Shades and Water-Shade systems, again, you have a lot of flexibility with the amount you add, the color strength that you want. But you can also stack the color. Remember, a semi-transparent stain is kind of like a wood stain. You're still going to see the veins, you're still going to see the knot in the wood. All you're doing is changing the color of the wood. So these tricolor pavers, we're not going to lose the tricolor. We're just giving it a color boost, so we've got that stain working to our advantage. I was going to go 10%, but I'm going to go 75. Let's start spraying. you do is I got a blower over here, guys. We like having blowers in the job for a couple of reasons. One, it's going to help cool me off. But you know, sometimes when you get those lanais, those covered areas where you don't get good positive wind flow, and you're putting the product down, you want it to dry a little quicker. Well, the air squirrel cage is going to help do that. During the winter time, be very cautious of the pavers. Are they thick pavers or are they thin pavers? Obviously, you can take a look at this paver here. That's what it looked like before. That's what it looks like now. Before, that's the tan afterwards. So quite drastic difference in color. But always remember, when you are doing color restoration paver sealing anytime, if you're doing remodel pavers over top of concrete, you got to remember, where's that water underneath? Is it got a good positive way to drain away? Is it still there? So when you're out there cleaning and sealing the same day, sometimes you can't because there's moisture trapped underneath. So be very cautious, especially in the winter, spring, and fall. This kind of weather, when it's 105, 108 degree heat index, by the time I pressure wash, get them clean 3 or 4 hours, that moisture's gone. All right? But you do want to be careful on thin pavers. Always understand thick pavers are on a concrete base or a substrate with paver base. These are sitting on top of concrete. So where's that moisture going? It's like a doormat. If you got a doormat, it's dry on top, it's wet underneath. So be cautious with that when you are sealing thin pavers at all times. When you're applying your color, the best tip I can give you when you apply color is less is best. You can add, you can't take away. So when you're applying the sealer even, you have a different thought process. You want to do like a saturation coat or a flood coat to get into the sand. In this case, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to sand after we stain. Because if I put the sand in, I'm going to color my sand. So we're going to use the opposite approach. So we've cleaned these, we've prepped these, and now there's no sand left. I'm going to go ahead and color them. The reason why I say less is best, guys, is the tendency to when you put down color, you want to put it all on one heavy coat. And then all of a sudden you get splotchiness. You don't get consistency. You put down one uniform, fairly smooth, fast, quick coat. Then if it doesn't look like you got enough color, you can always go back and add a second coat. So if you try to do it all in one coat, you can't take away what you already put down. So less is best. You can add, you can't take away. All right. Now Steve's going to go ahead and hydrate these pavers because right now it's hot. So when it's super hot out, one thing you don't want is the sealer to flash on you. So when it flashes on you, it's going to dry too quick. So we want to draw this color in deep. So he's just using regular H2O water, lightly hydrating the surface. If you got a garden hose, get a little mist. Obviously, you won't want one of these on 10,000 square feet. You can have arms like Popeye the Sailor Man by the end of the day. So. The other thing that water can be used for sometimes, if you get a drip mark from the sprayer, give a little mist of water so it lays that drip mark down. So that water is used for a couple of reasons. One, to hydrate, and two, to make it lay down better, if necessary. I kind of like a round and around motion. As you can see, these pavers are probably one of the worst pavers ever manufactured. I'm not going to tell you where I got them from. I'm not going to tell you the name of the manufacturer. They kind of know who they are. But the price is right, so when you get them for basically free, don't complain too much. Now again, you want no ponding or puddling. If you have ponding or puddling, use a blower at idle speed, a stiff broom, push the pond or the puddle away. See that one right there? It's kind of a bad paver. They're all bad. You want to just go grab your broom or show them that ponding area. It's pretty simple though. Just going to try to go with a nice uniform coat. Now you're going to see in a few minutes it's going to keep changing. The color goes down. And as it dries, it changes. Steve's going to go ahead and just kind of broom them off, just kind of show you a little technique with a stiff broom. Sometimes you need to leaf blower it out. So you get ponding, puddling areas. I'll show you an area over here where what will happen. The color's going to end up being a lot more concentration and thick. Then you're going to have that spot, one paver, that's going to be real dark because you let it pond and puddle. Now I'm going to take the leftover of this 25%. Okay. We're going to go over here to this decorative concrete. Hey, this antiquing with the Ure-Shades does a couple of things on stamped concrete. There's a lot of old stamped concrete out there. You strip the old sealer, you come back and restore it with the Ure-Seal and the Ure-Shades, you're going to last 3 times longer than any traditional solvent-based sealer that's on the market today. Because of the solids, because of the technology, and it's so UV stable, moisture friendly, you'll get much more use out of it long term. Two different substrates, 2 different colors. See how the color's taken differently. Go along that curve right there. And I'm going to have Steve just spray a little bit of water on top of here randomly, because sometimes a little bit of water does 2 things. I just box myself in. Okay. Always remember how you're going to get out of the situation before you get started. So that little bit of 40 ounces of pigment right there, ready to use, did probably a 5x10 area here and a 6x6 area there. So it covered quite a bit of product. Now he's going to get a little squirt randomly. That's good right there, just a little bit. And all he's going to do is make that color now become more variated. Take the blower, kind of hit those ponding, puddling areas. And creating a little fall, a little antiquing. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and apply 50%. You can see behind you the 25% how it's already changed. It's still drying. It's still taking on its color. Real important to pay attention to the substrate you're putting the color on. Test an error before you do it. Again, get with the consumer. Show them what it's going to look like. It's way easier to tell them up front, show them up front, than wait till the job's done and they're not happy with the way you did the overall job. I learned this from one of the guys that's probably watching. Your expectations is not the same as the consumer's expectations. So don't always assume that they're going to agree with what you have to say. So showing them ahead of time is going to save you a lot of problems at the end, especially when it's time to get paid. All right? We'll wash these 2 out before we do the next one. Again, he's pre-hydrating them. You guys that are out west, way out there in Arizona, New Mexico, places where it's low humidity, super hot, man, you almost got to do this stuff at nighttime. When the temperature starts hitting 110, 115 degrees, those pavers are probably racing at 160. Remember, 55 degrees is a low temperature on surface. High temperature is around 120 surface temperature. You start getting over that, then you're going to accelerate it too fast. So remember, it's a 2-part system, A and B. It's like a chain link going together. And you keep putting those chains together, what's going to interrupt it is rain, drying too fast, it's going to break the chain. So if you break the chain, that's where your failures are going to come in. Again, round and around motion. Still getting tricolor, still see the grays, still see the tans, the pinks. You notice this cone. Don't like a fan. A fan is going to give you lines. A cone is going to disperse more evenly, taking your wrist, circular motion. Look at that paper right there. Look how it sucked it in, like drank it. That one did. That one did. See how these pavers are so porous? I don't think there's any cement in these things. I think it's nothing but sand and rock. Again, the price is right. Now, we got one coat down there. When he's dry, we decide we can always do a second coat. But again, we're doing it at different strengths. So you can get the idea what 25, what 50, what 75% is going to do. I'm going to tell you right now, 100% color packs on pavers, I would never recommend 100%. Always want to dilute it a little bit. 100% on pavers kind of gives it too much of that fake look. You're not getting that true stain effect. So start out, because again, you can add, you can't take away. So if you want to do 2 coats of 50, just to get more color, if you're stacking the colors, it's going to keep getting darker every time you put another coat on. So it depends on the substrate, the area that you're doing. So we're going to go back over to our pavers again over here at the decorative concrete. This is what's called stacking colors, guys. That's the same tan that I got in my can right now that I'm spraying, but applied multiple times. So you can see how you get the highs and lows. So all you're doing is stacking colors. So sometimes you can put tan base down, come back with a little bit of gray over top. And maybe randomly spray the gray, don't go 100% on the second pass, go maybe 75% coverage, so you get some more of that inconsistency to give it that faux effect, so it looks more natural.
Hold on. I'll get it with water. Don't worry about it.
You heard what he just said. I'm going to tell you guys, when you're doing Ure-Shades, you see how we got cardboard down, we're taping it paper. It's probably the most important thing you do besides the prep the surface is mask everything you don't want to get it on, cover everything. Again, at the end of the day, it's easy to pick up the cardboard, tape, and paper and walk away. You're going to be out there trying to get this Ure stain off a surface that I get overspray on, good luck. You're going to be out there repainting the house, redoing the coping. So take the time to prep the surface, take the time to mask and cover the surface for preparation. Again, this is really easy to do, but it's also really easy to F one up if you don't take the time and common sense to prepare the surface that you're applying. I see a lot of videos out there, people showing how easy it is to put product down, but then I see the overspray all over the garage doors and sidewalks, and I'm going, well, that ain't the way to train someone. So guys, just trying to give you the heads up on this. And it's cutting kind of close on product. We got more, we'll go back over. Right. I wouldn't add any water to that one because it's going to sit in the cracks. Maybe just blow it a little bit, that's it. Oh, on the screen. Yeah, show them on the water what you just did there. See a little bit overspray they got on the tarp? Right there's your friend too. So if you happen to not have it masked off properly, don't have it protected properly, keep that bottle of water handy so you can hit that garage door, hit that sidewalk, so you don't get sealer sticking to the surface, all right? Just a little trick there. All right, so we're gonna go ahead now, guys. Steve's gonna clean this one up, and I'm gonna go ahead and move this cardboard down. I'm gonna do 75% in the center square. A bit of water in there first, there we go, product. When you clean these things out, you got to get the water out before you get to the product. right, 75% coverage. Again, look at some of these pavers, just drinking it in. Now I'm going to mix up a couple of different colors. I'm going to add a little bit of gray back here, maybe a little bit of gray to the center square to kind of show you stacking the colors. A little bit of coral dust. I'm probably applying around 250 square foot, 275 square foot per gallon per coat. Again, the pavers are going to depend on how porous they are, how they're taken. Again, these are very, very porous, so I'm probably getting 250 out of a gallon of these. Better quality, 275, maybe 300 square feet out of a gallon. Yes. Yeah, I'm going to add another color over top. So you kind of get an idea how they stack colors. This is light granite gray at 25%.
Thanks, sir.
Sticky stuff is very sticky. You get it on your hands, don't come off with soap and water unless you do it right away. We love getting phone calls when the customer gets a hold of the product for the first time and asks Mark back here, hey, how do you get this off your hands? And Mark, his response is, you take a shower. And the guy says, it's been 2 days. Well, he said, you got 3 more days. It takes about 5 days to shower before the shit comes off your hands. One more color. I'm just going to keep showing you how you can stack and stack and stack. The last color is coral dust. A little bit more of a pinky color. So basically, again, what I did here is I'm stacking the colors. So the first coat I put down was tan at 75%. Went back with a little bit of gray at 25%. So I'm getting more of that tricolor effect without losing its appeal of its original state when it was supposed to have been when it was installed. These papers have probably been sitting out in the sun for, again, they're not a good quality paper. They've been on for 5 to 7 years approximately. This is on top of our drain field here at ICT at the plant. So luckily it doesn't smell here, but we are sitting on top of our wastewater area. So we decorated it with pavers. Again, this is already pre-colored. This one's at 40%. Everything was already pre-measured, so we didn't have to sit here and waste the time, try to condense this class to make it go a little smoother. The idea is kind of like a cooking show you see on TV. We're going to be doing a couple more next month here. One of them is going to be on stone, travertine natural stone, using the Stone Show series. Another one is going to be over concrete using the Nano and the Water Shield Technology series. Ernie will be posting that probably in the next couple of days. Both of those seminars coming up. We have one on Textreeze 3500, which they used at Kennedy Space Center using the Ure-Seal on top. That is a non-skid, has IR pigment, so it reflects the solar rays, which makes the surface temperature cooler. Non-skid, because it's an aggressive non-skid, the Ure-Seals will help flatten it out over top, which gives it the long durability. not only does it lower the temperature 10 to 12%, so on a hot day, if the surface temperature is 140 degrees, that's 14 to 20 degrees cooler on a hot day. But it also extends the life of the color seal and or the texture because it's a pigmented finish. The sun doesn't penetrate, it rebounds. You get the value of the solar reflectives, which lowers the temperature. But now you get the value of the longevity because the sun's not eating the color of the product. 10 ounces of water. And then I'm going to drill it for a couple of minutes. Again, remember that part B, it's like trying to get sugar into warm, cold coffee. You got to stir it in well to get it to incorporate.
Just those tips when you're ready.
Yeah, I took it. Then I found that out when I opened it first. Had the guard on. Oh yeah. All right, guys. I'm gonna add this little bit of coral dust over here on this decorative concrete area, and just to kind of show you how you stack 3 different colors, and then we're gonna sand and seal a square that we finished yesterday over here. This says 50%. I made that batch at 40%. Okay. I marked everything on the bottles. So just give you a heads up. See how I'm randomly spraying? Whenever you stack colors, when you stack your colors, you don't want to go 100% on each one of the coats. You're going to start out with a primary color, 100%, and then as you add colors to stack them, go at different percentages, maybe 50%, maybe 40%, and randomly do it. We were talking about earlier, air makes things dry. So you don't want to put it right on the surface because then it'll make it crawl, but get it in the room, you get the room to dry. A little bit left, I'll get that square up there. Get my tent real good too, so that coverage. People hit that with a little bit of water, that overspray. Again, a little mist of water on the tent. So it doesn't stick. Go down a little bit further if you can. All right. Again, you can see it keeps taking more and more color. We'll come back to this in a few minutes as it's drying. It's still going to continue to keep taking its color. As it dries, it keeps changing. Go ahead, Mark. You got a question? Typically, they have to be dry on dry. You have to be able to walk on the surface. I'm kind of cheating here because it's a small area. So I usually do one color, let it dry, then come back and stack the color on dry. Always start with a light color. If you go too dark, you can't go back. So start light and then go dark. All right. If you happen to overcolor it, one of the colors on the chart that you don't see is called whitewash. Whitewash is a semi-transparent white. So what it'll do, it'll do 2 things. One, it'll lighten the color because you're using a white to soften up the darkness. It allows you to go back and restack the color that you wanted originally. So that's an option. Another option is our Color Seal H2O Pro, the Cool. That's a solid color pigmented acrylic concrete stain. If I screwed one of these squares up, I could have actually took one of our light colors, rolled solid color over it, and because these are all stackable and interchangeable, reapplied more stain on top. All right?
If we have 2 colors, like gray and coral dust, which one you should apply first, the lighter or the darker color?
Either one, because the granite gray is kind of light and the coral dust are kind of light. They're just 2 different tones. So again, that's where I would do a little sample. You know, we have the little Ure-Shade bottles. So if you want a little sample bottle to try a little panel, I would suggest getting a hold of Mark, myself, Ernie, or Steve, so we can get you out a couple of those to kind of play with it. Sometimes I put down the gray first and then the tan over top, and then I'll reverse it, put the tan down and then the gray over top. I get 2 unique different looks, but they're the same 2 colors. Again, first color, first coat, usually 100%. The stacking color is usually randomly done at a different percentage rate.